everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And today we're really excited. We are back after our incredible predictions of the summer box office. We are now going to be giving our predictions for the fall box office and maybe talking about sort of a preview of the upcoming films as well. Going to be a ton of fun. I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and David Rosen is here.
Hey, thanks so much for having me back. I can't wait to do this.
Yeah. And Manda is here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to dive into this one.
Yeah, I mean, we said that summer was hard to predict, but this is even more difficult, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had 20 films on my short list that I could all see kind of creeping in there. Yeah, it's and even some that I didn't even include on the short list could surprise, as Sound of Freedom showed. You can never
Yeah, you never know with these things.
Never
And
know.
yeah, I think the disparity between big hits and just small little hits in this, what we're about to talk about, is just going to be massive. But you know, we'll see as we're going through this.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's an interesting group. I feel pretty excited for the upcoming season.
Yeah, there's such a variation of genres and films that we can be excited for. There's a lot of indies that are on this list that I'm really stoked for. So
yeah,
it's gonna be good.
That's true, because there's a lot of movies that I didn't make on my short list as far as the box office, but I'm really looking forward to, like The Holdovers. Really looking, that's gotten such good buzz.
So good.
And it's a Christmas movie. I mean,
yes, it's so good. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you guys to watch
it. That's right.
Yes. Oh, so good. Highly recommend.
Yes, I'm so excited. Well, let's dive in. We decided that we were going to each pick two dark horses, honorable mentions. We thought that would be fun. And so David, why don't you give your first of your dark horse?
Is that because I did the worst during the summer and so I get to go first now? Yeah, and I think these might show up on you guys' list as actual top 10. I don't know. But the ones that I was thinking are Maestro, Bradley Cooper's A Star is Born follow-up, and Napoleon, the new Ridley Scott film. Both films that I'm looking forward to. I think they'll do well in their own ways, but I just don't think we'll crack the top 10.
Yeah, it's tough. Those were tough ones to know what to do with and how people would respond. What do you think, Mona? What do you have, dark horse?
I have Wish as my dark horse. It's not in my top 10, but it depends how the marketing does with everyone. I think that's gonna could sneak in there. I'm not 100% sure. And I think the color purple could surprise us, just because it is a remake and the cast is stacked. So I don't know how that's going to do, but those two kind of edged out my top 10 that I would have put in there.
I do think Wish is a tough one to predict. I have it on mine, but it Disney has had such a horrible year. I think the marketing hasn't been that great. They just released a new trailer yesterday. I know it's tough, with an original property. Is it gonna hit with people? It's very, very, very hard to know. So that I can understand that. And the color purple, I mean, the subject matter is pretty rough. And so I think that will limit its appeal to a certain degree. But a musical always has a certain also level of appeal, at least certainly for me. That's for sure. I'm excited for it. Well, my honorable mentions might be out there, but I think that What Happens Later could surprise. You have Meg Ryan coming back. She's directing it. She hasn't made a movie in a long time. And rom-coms have been doing pretty well at the box office. And I mean, you had Two Tickets to Paradise last year that did pretty well. You had The Lost City that did pretty well. And if it's good, if it's a decent rom-com, I could see that actually being a surprise and doing well. And then the other one, and this is my Sound of Freedom pick for it could totally bomb, but I just saw the trailer at the theater it looks, and it has a pretty stacked cast, is Journey to Bethlehem. And if they get the faith-based market behind this and all attending and congregations going, and it's got Antonio Banderas, Milo Manheim in it. It's a musical. It looks like it's pretty well made. It looks like it's pretty decent for this kind of, and we've seen faith-based films, crack the at the box office and do quite well. So I think it has potential to surprise.
They're the hardest things to predict, those kinds of movies, because if they just go up in a big sweep, then everyone shows up, and otherwise they just come and go. So.
Yeah.
So the only
my top two.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The only concern with that one is the release date, because it's November 10th, and I think that can kind of harm it, because it won't stay in theaters until like Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, because that's usually like when people would go. I don't know, the release dates just iffy for me. A lot of the release dates are iffy on this list. I mean, the placements are weird.
Maybe I didn't think of that because, I'm in Hallmark world where they're starting Christmas movies October 20th. So
yes.
By November 10th, we're deep. We're deep in the holiday world.
It's true.
But yeah, I think it could be a surprise. But yeah, I mean, I had a lot of others that I think we could see, and we'll probably may see on some of your lists. So we'll see. The other one that was very difficult for me to know where to rank was Five Nights at Freddy's, because it has a same day and date release on Peacock.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how that's going to impact it. But let's dive in. Let's do our predictions. And we want to see, if you're listening, we want to see your predictions in the comments or on Twitter. So please let us know what you think. And David, what's your number 10?
So in the summer, I said that I never bet against horror. So I definitely have some horror on my list. And I'm starting off with The Exorcist Believer on October 6th, which quite frankly looks awful, but it is the next live episode of Piecing It Together if you're here in Las Vegas and you're listening on October 5th at Art House. But the Halloween movies, some people really liked what David Gordon Green did with them. Maybe that will translate here, and it's Halloween season, so people love horror during October, so it could do something.
Yeah, that was a tough one to know how it would do, because it could blow up. I don't know if it has. I don't think that The Exorcist has the same kind of fan base as Halloween.
Right. I don't think so either.
It's hard to know. But I can see it, especially if it ends up being decent, which it doesn't. I mean, I don't know the genre at all, but it doesn't look very good.
Doesn't.
But Manda, what do you think? What do you have at 10?
I'm very, very excited for this, because I just started watching Michael Mann's films. I'm trying to do a catch up before Ferrari. So I think, because there are many Adam Driver fans, they will watch anything with him. I think that's going to be up there in my 10. I wanted to pick that. And Michael Mann's kind of like returning. I don't know when the last time he made a film was. Not 100% sure.
I think it's Black Cat.
Is it?
I believe
so. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
So him coming back, I think that'll gain traction, and it's a story that everyone would want to know. So I think that could do well at the box office, because Ford v Ferrari did so well and surprised me. I cried during that movie. It was perfect. So it could happen.
I mean, this is going to be more R-rated than Ford v Ferrari. No family feels. No. I guess it's got body parts flinging around and stuff like that.
It can be intense.
Yeah. I have that on my list as well. I could see it for sure. My number 10 was hard. I have no idea how this movie's going to do. I have Wonka at 10. I'm looking forward to it. There is, I don't know what they call Team Chalamet, but there's a team, there's a hive, Chalamet hive. And so they come out for it. And it looks it looks like the kind of thing that's gonna bomb though. I don't know why. And even, I mean, I love musicals and I love whimsy and it looks great to me, but I don't know. It just, I don't know how people are going to respond to it. People are going to like it. It seems like people were kind of mixed on the trailer. I enjoyed the trailer. I thought it looked enchanting, but a lot of people hated Hugh Grant, and it's fair enough. But
it was so funny.
I think it's a very difficult one to predict. Is Wonka.
It's true.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's on my list too, but it is really, really difficult to predict. And by the way, I still haven't seen the trailer. It hasn't played at any movies I've gone to, so
wow.
I'm not quite sure what's going on with their marketing.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics Panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right, David, what's your number 9?
All right, one more horror movie. I put them at the bottom because I'm a little shook from summer. But Five Nights at Freddy's, which, by the way, I know nothing about this like phenomenon or whatever. I'm too old for it, I guess. I don't know, but I know it's very popular. I have no idea if the people who love Five Nights at Freddy's think the trailer looks good. Like I genuinely have no gauge of that buzz, but I see this trailer every single time I go to the movies. So that kind of like factors into it, making my list. Horror, Blumhouse, like it kind of has all the things of something that will do well.
What do you think about that same day and date release on Peacock?
That is very surprising, because it seems like the kind of movie they would want to capitalize on theaters during the Halloween season. It's really weird.
It's very weird. I don't understand, what, I mean, I guess they're trying to bring people over to Peacock, but I think that you're losing out on a ton of business.
Oh yeah.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I don't know. Manda, what do you think about that?
I also have this on my list, and I've played the games. My friends have played the games. My cousin's obsessed with it. They have like a whole thing on Reddit. Like, this fan base is massive. And I do think that they're gonna like dress up, go to the theater,
make it an event.
Oh yeah, they're definitely. My cousin's like begging me, like, did tickets come out yet? Did tickets come out yet? Like, they've been begging me to go with them. So I think that's going to be a massive factor, is the fact that this fan base is massive and they're going to really support it because they do want the franchise at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's good to know that there's a social component, even if it is on Peacock. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, my number 9 is Ferrari. I have Ferrari at number 9. And I think that Adam Driver, I mean, he's not always a pull. Like, there was that 65 movie that came and went with him and dinosaurs that nobody saw. He doesn't always, but if you look at something like House of Gucci, I feel like is a pretty good foil. And it made $153 million in 2021, right? At like Omicron and everything.
Yeah.
So it did pretty good for what it was. And I feel like it's similar vibes, except for he's the lead. And this will have more appeal because it's about racing and it has more action and stuff like that. So I think I feel pretty safe with it at 9.
Yeah, that's great.
It did not make my list, but it's definitely towards the top of my most anticipated. I just wasn't sure that it was going to actually be a hit. So
yeah. It is hard to know, especially with R-rated films, like, how they're going to do. But David, what do you have at 8?
My number 8. So these, awards draws don't always make a lot of money, but I have a feeling like the hype around it is going to kind of draw people out. And that is Yorgos Lanthimos's Poor Things. This is definitely the kind of movie that could like make no money.
Yeah, it's hard. This was a hard one to know.
It really is. But I have a feeling there's going to be so much word of mouth on this that it could be like this surprise thing that people actually show up. And I mean, that's kind of how The Favorite worked out as well. So I think it could do quite well.
Yeah, I was just looking to see how much The Favorite grossed. It had $61 million in the US and Canada. So $61 million domestic, but I do feel like there's more hype around this one, and certainly like bigger stars in this one, compared. Well, I mean, I guess they both had Emma Stone, but what, let's see. So what do you have at 8, Manda?
I actually have Priscilla at 8, and this is like the dark horse in my 10. I think that obviously the success of Elvis was a massive last year, and I think that people are going to want to know her side of the story. So Sofia Coppola is really smart in releasing it the year after and giving it room to breathe. There's a lot of controversy with this film on top of it. And Sofia Coppola hasn't made a film, I think, since On the Rocks, and that's when Apple TV Plus was it first released, like they dropped it. So
with Bill Murray.
Yeah, that one.
I like that.
I really like that one too. Yeah. So I think that this is going to be, it could go higher on the list. I don't know, but I think it's going to be like a sleeper hit, Priscilla, because people really like Coppola, and this is a story that also needs to be told. So
now I heard from somebody that they did not get the rights to the music, to the Elvis songs in it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because I think they did covers. Because like the estate is just completely against this film, so they were not gonna give them the rights at all.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They're like against the movie altogether. Yeah. So even forgetting about the music. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, my number 8 is a movie I have zero interest in at all, but it is The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm just not, this is not the franchise for me. In fairness, I've really only seen one of the movies and I hated it, and I hated the books. So it's just not for me. I mean, it seems like the idea of making a prequel about this snow guy, I don't know, like, why do you, what? It just sounds like a terrible idea. I hate the franchise. So what do I know? And just not for me. It's too cynical. I hated especially the ending of the books. Oh, Maki J made me so mad.
And the fact that they split that into 2 parts, I'm like, you guys have exhausted me. Like,
yeah. And that first movie was, it was terrible. It was so like, I've heard that the second movie is much better.
Yeah.
But I've never had the desire. I don't know, just the whole premise I hate. This people cheering, the children killing each other. Just, I hate it. But anyway, I do have it at 8. I think it will make enough money. It has enough fans. I still think it'll probably lose money. I don't think it'll be a big success, but I think it has enough fans that'll chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you have, David, at 7?
Number 7, a little movie called Killers of the Flower Moon from a guy named Martin Scorsese. Of course, it's 3.5 hours, so that's going to work against it, which is why it's not higher on my list. But who doesn't want to see this movie? Like, I just don't know how that would be possible. But I think it's going to do pretty well. And I think the fact that they switched it from a limited release to a full-fledged, like, wide theatrical release just kind of goes to show that they have a lot of faith in it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't put it on my list because the length, I feel like it's the kind of thing that cinephiles really want to see, but does your average film goer, do they want to see this movie? I don't know. Because at least Oppenheimer had the Barbenheimer effect, and it also had a little bit more of an appeal, I think, to middle America, being this sort of American hero, and Nolan is very popular in amongst a wide range of ideological perspectives and ideas. And so that's I don't know, I just don't see, I think it'll do well, but I don't see it charting, but it could. And have you seen it, Manda?
Soon. But fingers crossed that it does well. It's also on my list, but like I'm man. I want people have said that like tickets are selling. Like there's theaters filled already for the Thursday. So gotta do it for Marty. Go buy your tickets, please. We gotta do it.
All right. Manda, what do you have next?
I actually have the Marvels at 7. Now, this took the spot of Dune in IMAX, which is that spot is going to help it. Yeah. At the same time, I have zero faith in this film. I have no faith in this movie. I'm not optimistic about it. But if the Marvel fans are going to show up for the hell of it, I do think that it's going to be in the 10. And it's a November spot, so we'll see.
But Manda, the director said it's going to be wild and crazy, unlike all the other.
Oh my God.
Imagine
the best part.
This one's going to be silly. Madcap.
That's what she said. And then Nia DaCosta was like, I don't even know what was happening in one scene. And I'm like, wow, this could be great. I was like, this could be great.
It's good.
Let me tell you.
All right. So let's see. So my number 7 is where I have Napoleon. And it might be a little bullish on Napoleon, but I thought just because of Oppenheimer, and I feel like it has sort of enough of that sort of crossover kind of appeal. I don't think it will be as polarizing as The Last Duel, for instance, which even with, that dealing with rape and stuff, it's just going to be a harder sell than this, historical epic with Napoleon, about Napoleon. So I think it could do well. And it's a tough one, I feel like, to predict.
Yeah, that one's gonna be tough. I think The Last Duel, it sucks because like The Last Duel I found out like to be fantastic. Like I really loved it. Yeah. But because of the subject matter, like you said, people were like completely turned off by it. Even on streaming, they're like, I'm not watching this. And it's like, this is one of the best movies of the year. So it's unfortunate. But also I think not many people have Apple TV Plus, so they could just like go to the theater, which also applies to Killers of the Flower Moon. So
yeah. Is Napoleon going on Apple TV Plus? Same day release, or
I don't think it's same day. I think it's like a week or something.
Okay, it's pretty close. I didn't realize that.
Like a week theatrical.
The Last Duel was a little triggering for me. I didn't love it, but I could see it was well made. It just wasn't for me. But but yeah, I think it was a tough sell, and whoever greenlit that budget was. I wouldn't have made their choices. Let's put it that way. But David, what do you have next? So it's 6.
Number 6. I've got the Marvels, and everything Manda said. That's basically exactly how I was thinking about it. It's hard to make a top 10 prediction list and not include a Marvel movie. So
yeah. I mean, because even Ant-Man Quantumania, which was very underwhelming for almost everybody, it still made $214 million in the US.
It's there,
so that would put it very high. If the Marvels makes that much, it would be very high amongst my prediction rankings. So
it's got to make so much money though to like be considered successful after Captain Marvel made $1 billion or whatever.
I know. Right. It's gonna like be seen as a step down regardless of that, which sucks now.
Well, and I wonder too, because I only watched the first 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, so I don't know if that's not. And I haven't watched hardly any of the shows, and I haven't
watched anything of the shows. So.
Yeah,
on those first 2 episodes is all you need. It's a bomb introduction. You got it. And then she has powers. Woof, magic. And then you're good. And then if you didn't watch it, they're probably going to do like a quick re-intro and you're good to go.
Sure.
So it's not,
Yeah. All right. So what do you have at 6, Manda?
I have Wonka at 6
okay.
because I am in the Timothée Chalamet club. And I also think that the release date, because it's at Christmas, it's either going to be Aquaman, The Color Purple, or Wonka. And out of the 3, Wonka's the feel-good family film to go watch. And I do think that it's going to make mad bank based on that. And I think that if people love Willy Wonka, they're going to go watch it. If they love chocolate, they're going to go watch it. If they love musicals, they're going to go watch it. So it has nothing to do with Timmy. It's just the fact that like there's many things working for it. So that's why I think it's going to be at 6.
Well, I'm really, really excited for it. So I hope that's the case.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy,
and me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
Number 6 is where I have Aquaman, and this was a very tough one to predict after the bomb of Flash and Blue Beetle not doing that well. Of course, the previous one did amazing. I think it's the most successful of all the DC EU movies. With Aquaman, which is insane. The trailer, I just saw it actually at the theaters. It was pretty good, I thought, because I thought the first one was a huge snore. I didn't like it at all. But they showed like practically the whole movie in the trailer. I don't know. That's where I have it. It's always hard to bet against a superhero movie, but I successfully bet against the superhero movie with The Flash this summer, so maybe I'm stupid to be including it so high for Aquaman, but I don't know. It's 6.
I've lost faith in DC. So you're very optimistic, Rachel. It's not even on my 10. Not after The Flash. Absolutely not. It's not in my 10. No way.
David, what do you have at 5?
Number 5, Trolls Band Together, which I don't know anything about this series. I haven't seen any of them. I don't know what the appeal is, but I know they always make money, so I put it at number 5.
Yeah, I have more to say about that coming up. Okay. This is a very interesting franchise. Okay, Mondo, what do you have at 5?
I'm very optimistic for Killers of the Flower Moon. I realize that it's very high. But like I mentioned before, not many people have Apple TV Plus. There are people who actually have started watching more Scorsese. And that's amazing. And maybe it'll be their first time watching a Scorsese picture on the big screen, which I think is really important. And people want to go see it because he likes to talk about cinema and pushing the boundary and restoring it and just reviving the love of like early cinema. And people take it wrong all the time, like he's bashing the franchise films, but he is not. So I think that people are gonna be like, who is this guy? Like, let's go watch his movie on purpose and give him money for 3.5 hours. So let's hope that they do that too.
I think Apple's hoping because they spent $200 million on this film.
I know. But like, if I were them, I would give him all the money in the world to make whatever he wanted.
Yep.
So I get it.
I wouldn't.
Blank check every time.
Like, whatever you need, man. Go ahead.
But I was not a fan of The Irishman, and I was not a fan of Silence. I absolutely hated that film. So I'm an outlier when it comes to a lot of Scorsese. But he certainly can make good films. I like Goodfellas. There's some good ones in there. But hopefully it looks good. I'm excited to see it. Well, let's see. For me, for number 5, that's where I have the Marvels. Again, just because I feel like even the worst of the Marvels movies still make over 200 million. And amongst this group, that would be a lot. I think enough to get to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard to not, include it in there, especially because there's just like a dearth of blockbusters with the moving of Dune and so I think that'll help it too. But yeah, I mean, if it were to not make the top 10, then Marvel has to be super worried, of course. But yeah, that's where I have it at 5. What about you, David? What do you have for 4?
Number 4, Wonka, which you guys have both brought up already. I mean, I like I said, I haven't seen the trailer, which is troubling, but at the same time, Timothée Chalamet, he is a draw, and it's such like, as far as you just said, there's not a lot of blockbusters this year, and this is like a very recognizable thing. So people do show up for things that they know. So I have a feeling, even if, most of us like cinephiles are like, why are they remaking this classic? Like, like, I think that most people will show up for something like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. What do you have at 4, Manda?
I do have Five Nights at Freddy's in 4th spot. I think the placement, when's it coming out? October 27th, is massive. I think that is a massive win for them. The trailer is awesome. It took me right back into the game, and I think that people on Reddit and the fans are going to show up for sure. Like, I really do think it's going to surprise many people.
Yeah. Well, my number 4 is where I have Wish. I feel like this is tough to predict. It's an original film, but it's also Disney saying, like, look at us, we created wishes, we're the reason you dream, and that's like very cringy to me. The animation looks like kind of leftover Frozen. I feel like audiences are now kind of expecting more after you've gotten TMT, you've gotten Spider-Verse, you've gotten like really interesting CGI hybrid animation, and people kind of looking for that, hopefully. So I think the animation itself won't be much of a draw. And so I think it'll depend a lot on if this gets good buzz and good reviews, and it gets some momentum. And because it also doesn't really have like a bankable star. It's not like there's The Rock in it. Like, Ariana DeBose is awesome, I love her, but is she a bankable star in it? I don't think so. I mean, Chris Pine, great, but you know what I mean, not one of those that's gonna fill seats, I don't think. And so I think it'll really depend on if this gets good reviews and if people are kind of buzzing about it. Otherwise, people will just be like, I'm just going to wait and watch it on Disney Plus. But I still have it at 4 because you
never know.
I was pretty bullish on my list on it with animation. So, yeah. But what do you have at 3, David?
I have Wish. Yeah, I don't know, I don't know much about it per se. Like, I just know it's Disney. And I think part of the reason why I put it so high up is the elemental effect of like, maybe this one will have legs, and like, it'll be, underestimated at first, and then kind of make its money. But, it looks good from what I've seen, and people want to see stuff like this. So I don't see why it won't do well.
It's hard to bet against a Disney musical. I mean, because Strange World bombed, but that wasn't a musical. It wasn't a princess movie. And I mean, there is the whole like Disney is woke crowd, but that's why I think it'll really depend on if it gets good reviews and if there's good kind of vibes for it. But what do you have at 3, Manda?
I have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Okay, so you're pretty bullish on it.
I think they're gonna show up. I really do. People have been raving about it. People have loved the trailer. It made noise on social media. I think that Rachel Zegler has made some fans since West Side Story, so I think that could be also like a push. She's marketing it pretty well because you just took a picture with Jennifer Lawrence at the Dior show. On Twitter. So I'm like, look at you, you're smart. But I do think that the Hunger Games fans are like starved for more stuff. So I think this is what's gonna make it for them. They'll be very happy, I think.
Yeah. Well, my number 3 is maybe a bit of a wild card, but I've just learned over the years to never count Illumination out. Illumination knows how to make hits. They know how to make money. And I mean, they just had this massive hit, obviously, with Super Mario Brothers. And it's been a while since they've had an original film. But with Migration, I know it's just hard to count them out. I mean, the lowest that they have made is Secret Life of Pets 2 with $158 million. And like Sing, the original Sing, that's the last original kind of property that they had, made $270 million domestic. The Grinch made 271. They've just had this, obviously, this massive hit with Super Mario Brothers. All the Minions movies all make, Despicable Me Minions all make $1 billion or close to it. They just know how to do it. And I think the movie looks terrible, but I don't know. I think it'll make a lot of money. They just know how to do it. So I have it at 3.
I hear you. Honestly, Illumination surprises me all the time. So like it could happen.
I always say they need to give classes on how to make money to people, because I take that class. I sign up.
Seriously, you're so right about that. But the one thing I will say working against that movie is that I completely forgot it exists. I haven't heard a single word about it.
Yeah.
So.
When's it coming out? Hang on.
It's coming out on, I think,
near
it's on Christmas.
Oh my goodness. It's gonna get slammed maybe.
22nd,
or it's gonna do well.
The 22nd. And I think that will hurt Wonka. I think that's what it'll hurt.
Wow.
Yeah.
No. No.
I do. I think it will.
We'll see. I'll DM you and be like, guess what?
If it bombs, it'll be the first one since the Hop movie that they and they also do make their movies on very low budgets for animation for like $60-70 million, and so they almost guarantee that their movies will be a success, because even something like The Secret Life of Pets 2, which was considered a disappointment, still made like triple its budget because it was so low. So that they're geniuses. Some people say they're evil geniuses, but nevertheless, I don't know. And we'll see. I guess it's a risky pick, but I don't feel like that with Illumination. It's just they're so good at what they do.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
So let's see. What do you have at 2, David?
Oh boy, I am going with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I'm probably the biggest Aquaman fan on this podcast right now, I'm guessing. I love the first movie. It's like my favorite superhero movie. It's the stupidest movie in the entire world, but it's so much fun. And it's completely insane that it made as much money as it did.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense. And that's coming from someone who loved it. It makes no sense that it's that successful. So really, you can't count out anything with this sequel. Like, I don't think it made all that money based off the success of the DCEU or whatever. It just randomly made all that money. And so this could too, even though the whole thing is in shambles and, it's all just this big mess. This, you really just can't, there's no logic involved. It's just, I think it might just make a lot of money again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Possible. I mean, I think that it'll be seen as I think because the first one overperformed, it's kind of similar to, I think, the Black Panther sequel that it was, even though I think it did very well because the first overperformed, it's kind of compared to it.
Yeah.
But it is a hard one to predict. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, what people are going to do with that one. Manda, what do you have next?
I have a very strong feeling that you and I have the exact same top two because we know the vibes. I put Trolls Band Together in second spot.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is. People go bananas for Trolls. They go bananas. Like the first two films did incredibly well. And now with the whole like NSYNC reunion.
Like, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I forgot to mention
that. It's gonna be awesome. I think that people are just gonna go and like NSYNC's back together. You have the NSYNC fans, you have the families. Like, I do think it's gonna do incredibly well, just like the other films.
Yeah, I also have it at number 2, which seems bullish, but not really when you think about it, because Trolls World Tour still made $68 million in the height of the pandemic when only drive-thrus were open and people had to purchase it using the $24, you know, the same day. It caused AMC to sue Universal because they were so upset that they're taking this, you know, income away from them. And they said they were never going to release any other Universal releases until they did this. And so it created all this big, and I mean, that's how well it did, is that enough that AMC sued the studio over it. And then you also have the NSYNC reunion, which there are a lot of NSYNC fans. Yeah. And I think that's going to be pretty big, and people really enjoy this series. They I don't know, I think it's going to make a lot of money. I think it's going to do super well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I'm ready to like go in there, sing along, dance, do the whole thing. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And I am excited because it does feel like they are taking a little bit more risk with the animation for this one. Kind of a Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I doubt I'll like it as much as that, but just you see some 2D animation in the trailers, you see some, you know, Flights of Fancy, and so that's, you know, interesting, and that, you know, so that's like, okay. But David, what do you have at number 1? I think we all have the same number 1.
So I was gonna say, I think we all have the same number 1. So I'm gonna double down here and make a bold prediction that this movie will make as much money as 10 through 2 combined, and that is Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour. It's going to just absolutely blow the entire fall away, and it's going to be insane. And I got my ticket, so I'll be there.
I have my ticket, and I wouldn't even call myself a Swiftie. I don't dislike her, but I'm just kind of neutral. But it's, you know, you got to be a part of it.
Yeah, I don't want FOMO. I want to go see it.
Yeah, I'm going the second weekend, which bums me out. But you know, you gotta get in when you can. So
the only reason that I waffled on it and I posted on Twitter, you know, is this crazy to be picking this over, you know, DC, Marvel, you know, Illumination, all these big brands? Is that, are people going to want to go multiple times? Are people going to want to see this multiple times? Are people going to take their families? Is it just going to be an adult thing where, you know, something like Trolls World's End has that family demographic? That was the only thing. But then I've talked to a couple people who have like multiple tickets already purchased, not just one. So they're going a bunch of times.
Yeah. And I'm really hopeful that if it is as successful as we're all predicting, that this could be a good thing for concert films. I mean, this weekend we've got Stop Making Sense, the big anniversary of the Talking Heads concert coming. And I got to see it in IMAX a couple of weeks ago, and it's just so good in the theater. And I'd love to see more of these things happen. So I'm happy that this is going to blow away the whole competition.
Well, that was kind of a fun thing. During the pandemic, there were sort of these event kind of things to try to get people to go out to the theaters.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to see that continue, and there be be able to go. Because I mean, when you go to a concert, half the time you're looking at the screen anyway. And so if they do these pro shots once the tours have ended, why not? I think it's great. Yep.
Yeah, it's very smart.
Yeah. What made you put on to top your list, Amanda?
The fact that it's already sold out, and the fact that they're getting ready with friendship bracelets, and like everyone's like telling other people to go buy tickets like it's the actual concert. Like I love that. I love that they're like incorporating, I guess, concert etiquette into a movie theater and going to watch it. I know that I have like Justin Timberlake's Future Sex Love Sounds concert on DVD. Like I bought that like because I couldn't go to the concert. Obviously I was younger. But I love that stuff. I love my dad has like so many concert like videos. So I think it's really important to bring that back. And she's so smart. She's literally so smart for doing this, because people who can't get tickets or the price, that's pricey. These tickets are very pricey to go to her concert. Right. I think it's the accessibility that's amazing that she wanted her fans to go watch it in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Martin Scorsese, he's done a bunch of music documentaries, films. So if people, there's some really good ones out there. He did one on the Rolling Stones. He did one on the that I saw at New York Film Festival last year on the New York Dolls. So there's a lot of good ones out there that people can find, and it's fun. So I asked on Twitter in a couple different threads what people were predicting. I have some answers. Mr. C says, this is really hard. I don't see a lot of these films even passing 500 million at the box office. Movies that I'd say have a good potential to make good money are Taylor Swift, Trolls, Migration, and The Marvels, with Wish and Hunger Games being wild cards. So we have pretty similar, me and Mr. C. We're pretty similar predictions. So shut up, Matt. He says Hurricane Swift is unstoppable, but I would like to see The Color Purple, The Marvels, and Killers of the Flower Moon work out to be respectable successes. I'm most looking forward to Poor Things, but I think that would fall under the winter months. But that comes out in December, right?
December 1st? I have it December 8th. I had as listed, but yeah.
Dalton Carter says the domestic and opening weekend box office crowns are easily going to be claimed by Mrs. Swift this season, but I predict that Wish will be the worldwide box office champ, and if word of mouth is great, like getting an A+ on Cinema Score, it could even make $1 billion worldwide. I mean, Disney would love that. They sure need it this year.
That's bold, yeah.
And I think that like I said, I think that the Wish will depend a lot on reviews and buzz. I agree with him about this A+. If it really gets an A+, I think that's good. That would be very helpful to it. Charlie McGivern, he says the Eras Tour will definitely be number one, with Aquaman, Hunger Games, Wonka, and Killers of the Flower Moon being the runners up. And Gavin Evans, he says Taylor Swift 1, Aquaman 2, Wonka 3, Trolls band together 4, Hunger Games 5, The Marvels 6, Migration 7, Five Nights at Freddy's 8, Killers of the Flower Moon at 9, and Wish at 10.
Nice.
And then a couple other people saying that they agree with me we agree with all three of us. Everybody basically agreed that Taylor Swift is going to win. That is not crazy. I think we'd be looking at massive numbers.
Yeah. I do love how many people replied with Aquaman in their top 5.
I know.
Just goes to show nothing makes any sense, but I can't wait.
Yeah. So let us know what you think of what your predictions are in the comments or on Twitter. If you're listening, we'd love to hear what you have to say. And this was so much fun, and I look forward to the season being over so that we can have our look back and see how well we did.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It can't be as bad as the summer.
David's hoping for more than 5 points.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But so David, how can people follow you and your content and everything going on?
Check out Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. And I also around the time this goes up, I am releasing a new soundtrack album from a horror film that I scored called Blind Malice. So that'll be coming out for the Halloween season and is a fun little album to put on in the background during our Halloween parties.
Awesome. That's really cool. Cool.
That's way good.
Mana, what about you?
Yeah, you guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also make sure you check out the Hallmarkies podcast. We are diving into Christmas. We have our preview coming. It'll release the week that this releases. Our preview for the Hallmark, the first Hallmark Christmas movies on the 20th of October. So I'm gearing up. I'm getting ready. It's going to be awesome. So check that out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. And we also have the page group and merch store. Check that out. We're going to be adding in a bunch of new festive designs. So take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.